you recognize that you were in a toxic relationship with an emotionally unavailable and avoidant partner, and you're ready to break the cycle. My name is Dr. Lilli, formerly anxiously attached, now secure, and I've gotten the degrees, read the books, and made the mistakes so that you don't have to. In this video, I'll cover the top 3 mistakes that I see people make when recovering from a toxic relationship, and what to do so that you don't fall into these traps. After you've decided that you don't want to keep repeating the toxic cycle, here's what can happen. Number 1, and this is the most common pitfall that I see people fall into, and that is becoming an expert on attachment styles. It might sound backwards, but hear me out. Let's be real. If it feels like you're becoming an expert on attachment styles, that means you're probably anxiously attached and your ex is probably avoidantly attached. So now you've read the book Attached, you're watching videos all about avoidant attachment, and you're learning so much about why they left right when it felt like things were getting good. You believe that this is healing, but let me explain why this is actually holding you back. Everybody says that awareness is the first step, and it's true, but when you get stuck in the pattern of awareness, you're not actually moving on to steps 2, 3, and 4 to make real change. That awareness can actually become addicting. You're having so many aha moments. Things are finally making sense, and you're finally seeing how you could have fixed everything that went wrong in the relationship. You might be full of regret and self-blame, or you might be feeling rejuvenated and excited, like you finally have the answer and you're ready to go back and fix it all. This new knowledge feels like power, but it's actually playing into the same wounds that got you into the toxic relationship in the first place, which is that excitement and high of feeling good enough at love. It's the same cycle of dopamine-driven addiction. These new discoveries and sense of validation provides that little dopamine drip that keeps you wanting more and more. Unknowingly, this behavior is feeding into your desire to control and fix, constantly seeing yourself or your partner as being flawed, because you feel that if you can finally understand them enough and show up exactly as they need you to, without them saying anything, then you can finally prove that you are worthy of love. So what you think is healing is actually avoidance. It's not your fault that you believe that. Not only is this what everyone is telling you to do, even therapists, but your nervous system is hardwired to repeat the pattern of trying to fix and control, because that's what it views as safety. And your nervous system is always trying to keep you safe, even if it's actually getting in your way. At some point, you learned that it wasn't safe to show up fully as yourself because you would get punished or reprimanded for it. So you had to learn new ways of making sure that other people stayed happy with you and continued to love you. And a lot of times that meant studying human behavior, even if it was on a subconscious level. Or maybe it meant that you had to get really good at a specific skill so that you could get attention, whether that be acing exams or becoming the comedian. You're not weak or flawed for developing this. This was survival. The problem is that you learn to abandon yourself along the way. Because when you're fighting for your life, or what your nervous system believes is life-threatening, your feelings, needs, and desires don't matter. It's only about survival. So what that looks like now is that you are again studying the problem, figuring out how to survive around unhealthy patterns. And you are ignoring what really makes a difference: yourself. How you feel, what you want, and what you need. Learning becomes another distraction and a form of self-abandonment. The first step to changing this is to start noticing what you are really trying to distract yourself from and what emotions you are trying to avoid. The second mistake that I see often is that when you hit resistance, you decide to stop entirely. It's absolutely normal to go about your healing journey and either hit resistance, feel like you're going backwards, or just reach a plateau. But healing is kind of like working out. When you first start working out, you're going consistently, you're making gains, you're feeling good about yourself until you reach a point where maybe you don't feel like going anymore. You feel like you can't push past a personal record, or you hit a day where you can't do as many reps as you normally could. So let's work backwards through each of these scenarios. When you feel like you've gotten weaker or had a setback, oftentimes in the gym, that just means that you need a rest day. You need to give yourself and your muscles time to recover. In terms of healing, maybe you had a trigger come up, or you started slipping into old habits or ways of thinking. Maybe you even broke no contact. It feels like you've gone backwards, but really what's happened is your rubber band has snapped, aka the speed with which you were moving forward was too quick for your nervous system to keep up. So it pulled you back to what is comfortable and familiar. It's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to reflect and grow, and it simply reveals what is still asking to be healed. This is an important step in the process, but if you're not aware of it, it's easy to slip into shame. But remember, you can't shame your way into healing. Shame only keeps you stuck. Love and compassion helps you grow. Next is the scenario where you feel like you can't push past a personal record. In terms of healing, this is when you get stuck seeing yourself or a situation through a certain lens or perspective. Maybe you know this person isn't good for you, but you're having trouble believing that there's anyone better. This is where it's really helpful to have an outside perspective and coaching to stretch you beyond your current capacity. Instead of allowing that belief to consume you, figure out where that resistance to a new perspective is coming from. How does that old perspective keep you safe? What do you have to let go of in order to adopt a new perspective? What might feel like a setback is actually the soil from which my clients have massive breakthroughs. Lastly, the situation where you don't feel like going to the gym, or maybe you simply don't feel motivated to continue to push through. This is another example of when the nervous system has gone into overdrive. Suddenly, that next step feels difficult. Maybe you haven't seen tangible changes in your reality yet, and you're using that as some sort of evidence that what you're doing isn't working or that what you desire isn't possible for you. But changes are happening. You just aren't recognizing them, or they're happening behind the scenes and have yet to unfold. It's so easy to not recognize all of the progress when you're in the middle of it and you want it all to happen right now. I've been there too in my own journey, and this is why I think it's so important to track your progress and your wins. I do this for all of my clients so that they can see the changes in real time. The resistance is part of the growth, and it is testing you to see if you can hold two things at once: faith and surrender. Regulate your nervous system and process through whatever is coming up for you in this moment. Everything is aligning in your favor. Just keep taking steps forward without attachment to the outcome. And the third mistake, the worst of them all, is that you don't go deep enough. This is the ultimate trap where you think you're doing better, but you keep ending up in another unhealthy relationship with an emotionally unavailable partner. You think that because you have more knowledge that this is going to translate into real change and better outcomes. But you still unconsciously attract people who lie, get defensive every time you bring up your concerns, and don't fully commit to you. And in that, you continue to self-abandon and stay in a relationship that you know isn't good for you. You know the pattern, you recognize it, you even know what led to each of you being anxious and avoidant, but you can't seem to get yourself out of it. That's because you've only processed on the conscious level, which is only responsible for 5% of your behavior. You have yet to actually move the needle and make changes in your subconscious, which is the driver of the other 95%. This is what this whole video is trying to bring to your awareness. So rewatch it if you need to. Make sure that you understand every bit of what I'm saying. Because once you understand it and integrate it into your current reality, that is when you end the cycle for good. Inside my private coaching program, I give each of my clients the tools and guidance they need, tailored specifically to them, to be able to rapidly become the version of them who trusts themselves and shows up confidently in love. What often happens, even with therapy, and I know because many of my clients come to me after having gone through years of therapy, is that you stay too surface level. You're only processing in the conscious, and you're focusing heavily on the past without properly bridging from the past to the present. Yes, your past got you to where you are now, but focusing too much on it keeps you stuck in the story that you keep retelling. Take notice today of how this is showing up in the present, where you're feeling it in your body, and what belief is driving your behavior right now. For example, if you feel like you have to prove that you're worthy of love, decide today that you are worthy. And if you are already worthy, how would you move through the world? How would you talk to yourself? And how would you feel about yourself? Align your current self to that version of you and watch what happens. In the next video, I'll share exactly what I would do if I were starting my healing journey over again and ready to reclaim my confidence for lasting love.